Everyone, Chris Murphy here. I've got the amazing Hari Kallmnios here. Hi, Hari.
Hi, I'm impressed you said my surname right as well.
Yeah, it's a really, every time I'm so in my head thinking of what I'm going to say it. So Hari is an expert in many different things, but mainly focusing today on nutrition and health. Hari's former personal trainer, does personal training. He's worked with the Yes Group, very knowledgeable about personal development and growth, being the best version of yourself. Has a lot of knowledge around fully energizing yourself, nutrition, correct breathing, to do with sleeping. So I thought all of those areas will be good to cover at the moment. So Hari, what would you say at the moment for a lot of people? I think perhaps in the daily, every day is the same, wanting to improve just some basic things of how they can get more energy and more joy for life.
Yeah, so we were chatting just before we started the session about a session I did a couple of weeks ago with you guys, where a lot of people were really interested in the sleep aspect. We were talking. I kind of it was about 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I put on my weird glasses, and people were like, "Why have you got these weird glasses on?" And I was explaining it was about sleep. So um, as you mentioned, I'm all about mindset, health, well-being, resilience, and right now we need to have that in abundance because there's a lot going on in the world, and there's so much we can't control. But one of the things we can control is our ability to be best prepared for anything that is thrown at us by life or work or anything else. And energy and our resilience, everything comes down to energy. So when we were talking the other day, we went down this whole conversation about sleep. Now, sleep is something that I've been massively passionate about for about 7 years now, because I didn't sleep that well for many years. Even today, I was just thinking about how for years and years, we used to have a cup of tea at night. My mum used to make me a cup of tea at night at like 9 o'clock at night, and we'd have and watch TV, and I'd be like, why can't I get to sleep? And then it was like, because I'm drinking tea and coffee right at night. So sleep is the foundational piece when it comes to your health, vitality, and energy. If you don't have good sleep, you're likely to make poor food choices. You're likely to not just be defocused, but make poor decisions, have poorer relationships. You're even technically less attractive, according to certain studies, if you're sleep deprived. And right now, people are in a perfect opportunity where maybe they're not commuting to work, and so they have more time potentially to sleep in. Especially, I was thinking about this, students that are not now at school and having to get up ridiculously early for school. They've got a great opportunity to sleep more, right? And for me, what I've done this whole situation is been the alarm clock and just prioritize sleep. Because if you want to boost your immune system, now when it comes to the coronavirus or any other thing, our ability to respond to that virus or stresses that are placed on us is largely dependent on the quality of our immune system. And there are a lot of things that go into the quality of our immune system, from our diet, our stress levels, but also sleep. And sleep is a foundational part. So for me, I've been prioritizing sleep, maybe more so than even exercise. For example, today I got up probably an hour later than I wanted to, and I decided not to do the exercise routine I was going to do because I had some other work that I wanted to do. So let's share a few things with your listeners that they can do in order to improve their sleep, but also their energy levels.
A quick one, Hari, on
So
that
what I would
actually.
do,
Sorry, I was just
yeah,
curious because I found this today, and I was curious to know if your alarm's on snooze, and you're in bed for an extra 2 hours, and you're snoozing, you're pressing the alarm. What is that doing to your sleep? Is that not the same as if you're snoozing from
okay.
say 6 till 7?
Uh,
Is that not like getting up? Is that like not an extra hour's sleep? Is that damaging your sleep
Yeah,
pattern?
that like the thing with snooze is it's only, in my view, a snooze is bad when it's a snooze of like 7, 8. When people are normally they're supposed to get up at 7 and then they snooze it and it goes snooze for 9 minutes or something like that, or
Mm,
then they snooze again. Right, that's not a good thing, right? You just want to get up when you get up. For
yeah, yeah.
me, if you're gonna say you're supposed to get up at 6 and then you decide, oh, you know what, because I don't have to travel into work today, so I can skip. Like I was going to get up at 6, and then I decided, actually, you know what, I'm not, and then I just I just let it go. And then I just woke up naturally, which was about an hour or so later. So for me, when I snooze, normally I've got two wake up times. It's either 6 or 7:30. So if I wake up, and what I do is I consistently do wake up at that 6 o'clock time, because my body's adapted to it, and the alarm goes, the light would normally go off, which is like a light alarm clock that I've got. So that would normally happen anyway at 6. So I've become accustomed to that wake up time, but then I'm very able to fall straight back to sleep again if I'm tired. And I take another 90 minutes, which is typically a sleep cycle. So most sleep cycles are around 90 minutes. Okay? Some are 80, some are 100, but most people it's around 90 minutes. So in that case, it's not detrimental because one, I've got the consistent biological wake up time, 6 a.m. It's still doing that, but then I get a complete cycle in. But it would be different if I was, say, getting up at 6 and then snoozed it to 6:05, then 6:10, then 6:15, because then you're you're not really going back to sleep. But when you go back into that 90-minute cycle, you're getting a full cycle of sleeping. Does that make sense? So in that case, it's not so much a snooze, it's kind of more of an adjunct, an extra hour and a half adjunct, if you like. So snoozing, I would say, is not good if you're doing it and it's like just a few minutes here or there. But if it's, that block where you just got to wake up naturally afterwards, then that would probably be okay, because your body needs that rest. So if it was a case of, okay, get up at 6 and then hammer it out at the gym before work, but you're really tired when you do that, I would suggest, if it's just a one-off, to just fall back to sleep, right? And skip the gym, because you're going to probably be better off. Obviously, if you end up doing that every single day and you never go to the gym, then maybe you need to start thinking about going to bed earlier and doing a few other things. So, but when it comes to sleep and optimizing sleep, I've got whole sessions and webinars and books on this. But if I was to think about what I would recommend to your listeners and your viewers, is thinking about sleep from the moment you wake up. And what do I mean by that? I mean that a good night's sleep does not start when you decide to go to bed. A good night's sleep starts the moment you decide to get out of bed. So when we've got these things, and I'm sure many people know, a circadian rhythm, right? Which basically means a daily rhythm to our body cells, our cells in our body. Roughly a 24-hour cycle. It's not exactly 24 hours, but it's roughly a 24-hour cycle, and it gets reset each day through things like light is one of the reset points for our circadian rhythm. So when we wake up in the morning, what we're looking to do actually is have an influx of cortisol and then tell our body it's morning. So that basically will say, okay, it's 8 a.m. This is your reset point. So that what it will then do will start producing more melatonin later at night. So melatonin is the quote unquote sleep hormone. It does a lot more than just help you sleep, but it's in abundance at night. But when you wake up and you get sunlight on you, right? Sunlight on you, it starts to reset that melatonin counter ready for the evening and boost cortisol levels. And so we want to start resetting our body for sleep the moment we wake up by getting as much natural light. Now, it's not always possible to do that. It is now because it's summer here. And even if it's not like really sunny like it is today and it's cloudy, that's still good for you, right? So I had a client and she was asking me, well, I wasn't really getting direct sunlight on my skin, but I was like, well, just get out on the balcony and get natural light on you, even though the sun was on the other side of her house. Now, for me personally, I would prefer you to be in the sun, but not looking at the sun directly, but just in that general direction, without glasses on, without contact lenses on, to allow the light to come in. But obviously do not look directly at the sun, people, right? Don't be stupid with this, right? But look in that general direction and have the sun on you. And that's going to start your reset. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say, which you can do first thing in the morning, is morning exercise. Now, we're not talking about going to a CrossFit session or going to a spin class first in the morning, although you can do that. But usually I'm a big fan of gentle exercise first thing in the morning. So that could be 5 to 15 minutes of stretching, jumping on a rebounder, which is what I tend to do for 15 minutes, which is like a mini trampoline. So what I'll do, like first thing in the morning, like I did today, is I'll take my mini trampoline out into my tiny back garden that I've got. It's like the size of a car park in space. And luckily for me, the sun comes up that way. So I will, without my contact lenses in or my glasses on or anything, I'll be jumping facing the sun without looking directly into the sun. And I'll spend 15 minutes jumping on that, right? And that is starting to reset my system, but also the exercise. And studies are showing that people that exercise first thing in the morning, later at night, they have, and throughout the day, they have lower blood pressure. They also have increased deep sleep, rather than people that have their exercise at either midday or 7 p.m. right? So that would be one thing, is morning movement. Not necessarily hardcore exercise. I would probably wait later in the day. For most people, you're going to get more out of your body later in the day when it comes to exercise. And if you've got control over that today, because we're working from home, maybe you have a lunch hour that you can actually do your 15, 20, 30, 40 minute HIIT training or whatever it is, then maybe save that for the middle of the day. But in the beginning of the day, go for a walk out in the sun, jump on a mini trampoline, do some jumping jacks, etc. So I would say movement first thing in the morning, sunlight first thing in the morning.
Absolutely, Harry. I would say for me, just I've trialed and errored so many times, but it seems when I do exercise first thing in the morning, that's when I have the best day. That's when I'm most productive. Like I didn't exercise today, I didn't go for that run, and I kind of feel a bit like, ugh. But then when I went for a run the last couple of days or so, I'm just like straight on it. And I've got a balcony here, and I'm grateful that I have actually got the sun, and I'm getting the sun, and it just seems so important. I mean, I was in Nepal for 5 months, and we would get sun every day, every morning, and it just felt like the place was happier. I mean, do you think that affects everyone's mood as well? Like in London,
well, it does.
We don't get the sunlight. We've not seen the sun for months, And
I mean, it massively does. I mean, like even right now, as I'm standing with you, I've got various lights. I've got my video lights on me, and also an SAD lamp on me. So in the winter, the last few years, I've been using a seasonal affective disorder lamp, SAD lamp, because we don't always get that bright sunshine, or it can be dark until 9 o'clock in the morning in the UK. And massively affects your mood, right? Massively. I mean, years ago, I knew this, like, because inherently I knew it. And when I started teaching my signature program, the BEAT model, the letters BEAT stand for 4 components going to health and well-being, but the E part stands for elements, which is about how you nourish your body. So air, water, earth, fire, and ether. But I won't go into what they are. But the fire part of that fire section is about sunlight, right? The big fireball in the sky that we have. Because I recognize, when it's a sunny day, I feel so much better, right? I feel more energized. And then later I did the research and saw that how important it was for all sorts of things. But also sunlight later on in the day, where you can get vitamin D conversions in your skin, because you don't get it as much in the morning, but you want to be out in the sun somewhere between 11 a.m. and 3 or 4 p.m. Not to the point where you get skin change colors. Like, so say for example, you're quite fair skinned, so maybe you're going to go pink quicker than I would do. So let's say you're going to go pink after 40 minutes in the sun without any sun cream. I would recommend only being out there for 20 minutes. Yeah. So for me, if it was an hour, I could maybe go out there for half an hour, but I wouldn't say most people need between say 15 and 30 minutes a day in the sun with like shorts and t-shirts. And that vitamin D production, and you can probably do it every other day, but that vitamin D production is going to be quite beneficial, not just for your mood and your energy levels, but also vitamin D in some of the studies I remember reading many years ago when I was talking about supplementation is super good for things like colds and viruses. Now, I've no idea whether it's going to affect what's currently going around, but certainly historically for respiratory illnesses, vitamin D can really help. So I would say first thing in the morning, you want to be outside for 15, 20 minutes, right? Daylight, in the sun if you can, but if not, just in the daylight. Then later on in the day, again, let's say 15, 20 minutes as well, somewhere between 11 and 4 in the afternoon. And if you can do that, that's going to help you with your energy levels for sure. When it comes to movement, though, you said you didn't have time for a run, but don't think about going out for a run necessarily. Just go out for that walk, right? Just go and post the letter that you need to post at the post box or whatever. Just go and do something for 5-10 minutes would be the thing. So those things will definitely increase your ability to sleep. The other thing I would say to do first thing in the morning as well as the sun and the movement, which you can hopefully do together, is lots of water. Okay, so if you want to have more energy, you need to have fair amount of water per day, but first thing in the morning, before you have a coffee, before you have a tea, before you have your juice, before you have anything, drink somewhere between half a litre and a litre of either room temperature water, I would suggest, or I prefer to have hot water. So in the bottle that I've got in my hand here, this is half hot water, half cold water. And it's probably I'm into my second litre of water. So I've already had 1 litre of water set up today.
And how much to have a day, Harry? And also a follow-up question. I just got a water filter, the filter jug, and I couldn't believe the difference in the taste of the water. It's like, I said to my flatmate, I was like, man, I can't drink this water. I'm literally just got empty glasses full of water. So I ordered this filter jug, and I'm drinking loads of it now, and I'm enjoying it. So is that something you recommend? And
I massively recommend water to people. It is so important for so many things, not least of which is energy. But let's say energy, skin, nails, focus, attention, digestion, just all sorts of things, right? There's actually a book called The Body's Many Cries for Water. I think it was written by a former doctor who was in prison during the Iran-Iraq war, and he had no access to treat any patients because he was a prisoner, but he was a doctor, and all he did was treat people with water. And he was able to solve so many ailments with just copious amounts of water. So how much water is the big question. I usually say most of your listeners and viewers will be working in maybe possibly kilograms when it comes to their weight. But I would say 1/30th of your body weight in kilograms. So let's say, for example, you're a 60 kilogram person listening to this. 1/30th is quite easy to work out. Divide it by 3, right? And then divide it by 10. So 60 divided by 3 is 20. And divide that by 10 becomes 2. Yeah. So 2 liters of water for a 60 kilogram. But let's say you're a 90 kilogram gym going muscle man. Again, 1/3, right? Because we're going to work out 1/30th by first dividing by 3 and then dividing by 10. So 90 divided by 3 is 30. Divide 30 by 10 is 3. So that would be 3 liters. So this would be the minimum I would suggest just for functioning. But this is going to be highly dependent on things like temperature of your room, whether you speak a lot for a living, whether you've got air conditioning, whether you've exercised, the time of year, and so on. So that would be my base mark. And then I would suggest that just regularly throughout the day, when you go to the loo, do the pee test, which is basically checking the color of your pee. And you want that pee to be virtually clear. It wouldn't be clear like water, but it's not going to be straw color. I know a lot of experts talk about it being straw color. I would say if I see my pee being straw color, there's only one of 2 reasons. Either I'm dehydrated or I've had some sort of food or supplement, maybe like turmeric, often makes my pee a little bit yellower. And then I'm not so worried about it. But if I know it's from dehydration, I'm like, I need to drink more water. So I'm always comfortable and more energized when my pee is virtually clear. So I'm not really necessarily tracking exactly how many liters each day, but I know I have between, say, on an average day, around 3 to 5 liters of water a day. And that would probably include non-caffeinated, non-fruit herbal teas. So things like rooibos or something like that.
So is there a danger, Harry, of drinking too much water, or I think because there's some evidence out there?
Yeah, a lot of people say that. Is
that just a load of crap, or?
It's not a load of crap. It's not a load of crap, but it's inconsequential, right? Most people are underhydrated, dehydrated. They do not need to worry about drinking too much water. The only time you need to maybe worry about drinking too much water is, and it does happen, right? I think it's called hypernutremia or something like that. But like where you are, say, running a marathon and you're drinking loads and loads, and you're basically not getting enough salts and foods in. But most people are going to be eating throughout the day. Most people are not running marathons every day. If you're running a marathon, you need to be thinking about your water, but also like replenishing salts and replenishing your food. So it's just not an issue for 99.999999999%
And
of
the people who have 7 pints of beer at a pub, they're getting enough water.
Yeah, exactly right. They go, oh, you're drinking too much water, but then they'll go and have 7 liters of beer. So, it doesn't have to. But now, one thing I would say is if your listeners are working out their number and they're saying, oh my God, I should be drinking 3 or 4 liters of water a day, and I'm only drinking half a liter, I wouldn't bang on and go from half a liter to 4 liters the following day. I would just give yourself a month or two, or more, to get up to that. And you might actually find that you don't need, you with your pee test, you see that, it's all pretty clear. You will start to pee more, which is fine because you'll start to move more, which is going to give you more energy. And now that you're working from home, you're not having to constantly look at people thinking, oh, you're getting up every half an hour to go to pee, right? So you want to, if I could say just drink, would be that. And have a bottle within hand's reach. And I prefer drinking out of a bottle. I can't drink out of glasses because I tend not to drink as much.
Yeah,
but I tend to have all over my house, in different rooms, and whenever I see it, I drink. Whenever I see it, I drink, and I make sure that I may fill my kettle of water, which is 2 liters, up to the top, and then I know that once I've had that, I've had 2 liters of usually herbal tea. But like I say, I have a liter first thing in the morning. I have 2 liters of maybe tea during the day, plus other water throughout the day. So I'm having somewhere between 3 and 5 liters, sometimes even up to 6. But again, I'm eating. So I know what works for me. So you need to kind of work out what works for you. So water, one, morning sunshine, morning movement during the day. So these are all just general energy things rather than sleep specific, but they're all going to help. Stop drinking about an hour or maybe 90 minutes before you go to bed, just so you don't get up in the middle of the night. But hopefully you because you've been hydrating all day, you're not going to be really, really thirsty at night. I have a bottle of water by my bed just in case I'm a little bit thirsty overnight or first thing in the morning, but not really to drink overnight.
So if you're thirsty in the middle of the night, that's just a sign that you're dehydrated. Like if you go out and drink alcohol.
Not necessarily. Yes, it is, but that might lead on to my third point. But that will probably be if you're dehydrated overnight, and most people are doing this, is because they tend to be breathing through their mouth. And when you breathe through your mouth, which is why I said it may be different the numbers if you talk for a living, because that's effectively exhaling through your mouth. But you end up losing a lot of water through your mouth. And that's actually how you lose a lot of your water when you exercise, right? Is through exhaling through your mouth. So, and actually the calories as well. But anyway, that's an aside. So if you're thirsty in the middle of the night and you've been hydrating throughout the day, well, the chances are you're a mouth breather overnight, and most people are mouth breathers. So this leads me into another energy point. Again, we've kind of gone off topic from the sleep, but for energy is you want to be thinking about breathing well. So breathing well, just to give it, because I know we were probably coming up on time shortly. Without going through the science, without going through the explanations of it, here's the kind of synopsis. Most people are breathing incorrectly. Most people are shallow breathing, and they're breathing into their chest. Even when they take a deep breath, when I ask people to take a deep breath, they breathe into their chest, into their shoulders, into their upper body, right? All that's doing, especially now where we're in a highly stressful situation, we add more stress to us by breathing that way and breathing through our mouth, which is what most people tend to do for a variety of reasons, predominantly habit built up over most of their life from probably the age of 4 or 5. Prior to 4 or 5, you're probably breathing correctly. But for a variety of reasons, we breathe incorrectly. Not time to go into that now, but effectively, the main shot is people are breathing incorrectly in my experience. Like I'd say 8 out of 10 people, right? Maybe 7 or 8 out of 10 people. So there's a good chance if you're listening or watching to this, you're breathing incorrectly day to day. So what does breathing correctly mean? Breathing correctly means in through the nose and into the diaphragm or the belly. And that is a deep breath. And that kind of breath, when you breathe in, and don't have to inflate really massively, but just deep means low down into the belly. When you breathe like that, you start to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest nervous system. So that means you start to chill out more, you start to become more focused, you start to boost your immune system, you start to have better attention, you start to release blood pressure and heartbeat, muscles start to relax. All sorts of things happen when you breathe correctly. So you want to be thinking, right, the summary for everyone listening and watching, okay, is in through the nose and ideally out through the nose, or maybe it's out through the mouth if you're speaking, and into the belly and out of the belly. Okay, if you take a 360-degree breath, then yes, your shoulders and your back and your chest will rise, but we want to focus first on the belly. And if you're just going about your day, doing your emails, working at your desk, walking around, none of that needs to move except for your belly. The belly and the nose. The belly and the nose. That's all you need to remember, belly and nose. So if you do that, you'll start to find more energy throughout the day as well, right? You won't be as stressed. You'll have better attention and focus. Now, to do this overnight is tricky because overnight, we don't have control of it. In fact, during the day, we don't really have much control of it unless we're actively thinking about it. So my recommendation is firstly, spend a moment, whether it's 10 seconds or 100 seconds or whatever, focusing on your breath, focusing on breathing in through the nose and into the belly. Okay, that would be the first thing. Then as you start to practice doing that on a day-to-day basis, you will start to get it to become more of your day until eventually after maybe 6 months or so, you may find that you're breathing naturally into the belly, but it may take 6 months or more to do that. Okay, it took me about 6 months and it still is an ongoing practice. And then overnight, the only real way that I know of to start to kind of train your body to breathe in through the nose overnight, if you're not currently doing it, or to test whether you're a mouth breather or not, is mouth taping. So you take, you can do it a couple of different ways. So you take the microporous surgical tape, that you can get to like fasten plasters, and you quite literally tape it over your mouth. All right. So don't do this if you suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, or have any blocked sinuses. And you can actually practice this while you're awake rather than when you're asleep as well, if you want. And there's a couple of different ways. You can take the tape and you can put it all over your mouth, right? Or you can just take little pieces of it, little thin pieces of the tape, and just put it at the corners of your mouth. So that is very easy for you to open the mouth. I mean, it's easy anyway with the whole tape over. And you want to test it anyway, because you want to make sure that you can open your mouth. But all it's doing is it's subconsciously going to tell you to keep it closed. And if you do that and you wake up in the night or you open your mouth, it's probably you're a mouth breather. Right? But if you wake up and you haven't moved the tape at all, then you're probably a nasal breather overnight.
Wow, that's a good way to know.
Yeah. So again, you might want to practice during the day while you're awake with it. So say you've got an hour, all you're doing is work and you're not making any phone calls. Just tape your mouth and that's going to train you during the day to breathe through the nose. And also you're awake, so you get used to it. And then overnight, you might just want to put a couple of strips rather than the whole tape, just in case you're a bit worried about it.
Is that to do with snoring as well? Or, people snore, or is that something different?
I mean, snoring is a bit of a different one. It certainly can do, and it really depends, right? With snoring. I mean, snoring for most people if it's just general snoring, it could, you could probably alleviate that through weight loss, not drinking, sleeping on your side. But it could be, it could also help. Again, don't do this if you're feeling like you're an anxious person, you're stressed, you've got those, any of those other things. But by all means, practice it during the day, right? You can take it during the day. that will give you some practice. But if you are going to do it overnight, just test it before you go to bed to make sure you can open your mouth. Don't take any kind of sellotape or gaffer tape or anything like that, right? You want the surgical tape that is really easy to open, right? So this is you have been warned, people listening, right? Anything you do is...
This is not one of Harry's things. He's just
I'm not telling
people.
You take your mouth or anything like that, unless you are adults, you take it under your own responsibility to do this. Awesome. So we've talked about breathing, we talked about movement, we talked about water, and actually, I know we're coming up on time. To summarize, if we're talking about energy, we haven't really gone too much into sleep, but we're talking about energy. A little phrase that people can remember to think about feeling energized and what I call being high performant or high performance person is thinking about a high performance car, right? So a high performance car that I'm thinking of is a BMW, right? So a BMW is a top-notch car. It's got all the energy. It can go wherever it wants to go. So BMWs, 3 things we've talked about in this session today. B for breathing, right? So first thing in the morning, do some breathing, right? Relaxing throughout the day, do some breathing. M stands for movement, right? Not necessarily exercise, just move, stretch, jump on a rebounder, walk around the block, walk to the post box, doesn't matter, right? Move. And that goes for during the day as well. And W stands for water, first thing in the morning and throughout the day. So if you want more energy throughout the day and in the morning, BMW, high performance car, high performance person, BMW, breathing, movement, water. And if all you do is have that as your ritual for during the day and in the morning, you'll find you have way more energy. And for the sleep, again, I could speak for 3 days on sleep alone, but I would say morning sunshine, morning movement, which is where we're coming in for the BMW anyway. The other thing I would say, definitely the other 2 big hitters that would be is caffeine curfew. So probably 12 p.m. I would say for most people, maybe 2 p.m. To not have any caffeine after that. Caffeine has a half-life, which means basically that so it has a half-life roughly 5 to 8 hours, depending on the beam in the body. So that means that if you have a cup of coffee at 2 p.m. and it has a half-life of 8 hours in your body, and that coffee had 100 milligrams of caffeine in it, it means that at 10 p.m. there is still 50 milligrams of caffeine in your system. So you could think about it like you are drinking half of that cup of coffee at 10 p.m. at night.
It's so interesting, Harry, because my friend was questioning this to me the other day because I started getting up at 5 a.m. and I've been in bed for 10, and I said, look, I can't sleep at 10 a.m. for some reason. 10 p.m. I'm really struggling. And, I cut coffee out for about 2 months, 3 months. I've reintroduced it again and going, because just to get out of the house, right, and go somewhere and buy a coffee and speak to someone. So, I've started drinking again, and it's like I'm starting to see that now, because I was in bed and I was like, this is definitely the coffee, and I've cut coffee out for another couple of days, and I slept well the last 2 nights. So, and I think, like you said, it's weird, isn't it? Because sometimes you're like, I had a coffee at 2 or 3, but I'm sure that should have worn out by now.
No, I mean, again, it depends on the person and the coffee that you're having. And also, when you're buying coffee, you don't know how much caffeine is in it a lot of the time.
Yeah. A lot of these big chains like Costa put massive amounts in, apparently. You read about it.
I don't require caffeine. And I always thought, like I gave it up like maybe 8 years ago, tea and coffee. Occasionally when I'm delivering training, I might have a green matcha tea if I need it. But we're talking like maybe once a month. So by and large, 99% of the time, I'm not having any caffeine, and that includes caffeine in foods and Coca-Colas and all that sort of stuff. And I always thought, well, if you need caffeine to get you going, there's something wrong elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Now I know there's an argument to be made for caffeine and focus and yada yada yada. Right. I don't want to go into all that. But my thing was, if you need coffee to get you going in the morning, and for some people that's the first thing they're drinking, something is wrong elsewhere. If you are having caffeine, and I'm not caffeine bashing here, I would say that you don't want it first thing in the morning, because it doesn't have the same effect, right? When you have it first thing in the morning, because it's going to negate the effect that cortisol, which is naturally occurring in your body, is having. So let's say you get up at 6 or 7. Let's say you get up at 7, right? I would say for the first hour or two, just be drinking that water, right? And then at 9 a.m., right, you can have your cup of coffee, and maybe you have, your second one at 11 or 12, and then that's it. Done, dusted, finished. So you've had your 2 cups of coffee, but you're not having it for that first 2 hours, and you're not having it for like 10 hours before you go to bed. Then you can still have your coffee, people. Okay. So I'm not pulling your coffee away from you, right?
Yeah.
The most popular drug in the world. But if you are dependent on coffee and caffeine and tea to get you going, then I would suggest that you need to look elsewhere, because it means that something else is not going right in terms of your sleep and your energy. If you're dependent on it and you're requiring it to get you functioning.
Yeah, it's like on a lot of these retreats that I've done, and I even ran one last year, 2 years ago. Just say to people like, look, for 5 days, no caffeine, no this, and then they're all like, what? No, I need my caffeine. And this guy, I remember when I did a retreat, he needed green tea every day, and he was literally in a funny way complaining the whole retreat about wanting the green tea. And then by the end of the retreat, he didn't really want a green tea. It was like,
no, it takes a few days to get out of the caffeine withdrawal. Some it's worse than others. For me, I was never that caffeinated, so when I got out, I didn't have any of that. But for most people, it's going to take somewhere between 2 to 5 days to get withdrawal, and it can be quite painful. But so I wouldn't recommend going cold turkey. I wouldn't go from like 5 cups a day to none. I'd go from 5 to 4, and then that extra cup, make it like, something like a red bush tea or something like that, which is non-caffeinated. And then the following week you go to 3, and then, and you do it slowly. So whether it takes you 6 days or 6 months to get where you want, doesn't matter, as long as you get there and stay there, rather than like, I've got people that I know who go cold turkey on something, whether it's sugar, whether it's caffeine, and then it lasts for 2 weeks, and then they're back on it, and they keep flip-flopping. There's no point to that. I would say go from 5 cups to 4.5 for a couple of weeks. Then for a couple of weeks, go to 4. Then after a couple more weeks, go to 3.5. And then you do it. And then, it's going to take you 12 weeks to get there, but you get there, and you get there painlessly.
Absolutely, Harry. No, I couldn't agree more. I've experimented with that, and like you said, you can still get the pleasures. I think this is interesting. I think one point I was going to mention as well is, I think it gets to the root cause of the problem. If you wake up, you're like, I need my coffee, and like we were talking the other day, it could be people could just not be getting enough sleep, and then drinking coffee, and it's to get into the root cause. I was going to say, Harry, because we've Karen.
We're coming up with time. I was going to say, I forgot to say the second big step change when it comes to sleep, because I said caffeine. The last one, I know we've got to run out of time here, was light. Limit light in the evening, right? We need to live to our natural cycles, and we are artificially lighting ourselves when it's time to go to sleep. So limit light by having, low level lights, dimmer switches, special bulb. You can buy special bulbs that don't have blue light in them. We do want blue light in the morning, we just don't want it in the evening. You can have things like flux on your computer, which take the blue light out of your screen, twilight on your phone. There's night shift built into iPhone, although that's not that good. But limit light, and that's where we started the conversation, where last time I was wearing these special glasses with your tribe there. And what I do is, because I can't always limit the light exposure around me, and even if I can, I prefer to wear special blue light blocking glasses, and they're probably the easiest, although maybe not the most socially attractive solution. But buying special blue light blocking glasses, which will strip all the blue light from around you, especially if you can buy glasses which wrap around the side of your face rather than just allow light in through the edges. My recommendation is buy wraparound blue light blocking glasses, put them on anywhere. I tend to put them on 3 hours before bed, but some people suggest that even only an hour is fine. But I would, for me personally, I prefer to put them on about 2 to 3 hours before bed. So maybe typically at 8 o'clock I've got them on, or even sometimes 7 o'clock I've got them on. So limit caffeine, limit light, do the BMW. That's more than enough information for people.
Amazing, Harry. Yeah, I mean, like I said, time-wise, I just thought it'd be quite interesting just a couple minutes or so just to talk about. So, like you said, not having like laptops and screens. I remember you saying the other day,
Yeah.
And then I guess the big question as well, how much sleep to get, and like you said, yeah, just stuff before you go into bed and when you're getting into bed. And
All right. So how
you
much
mentioned something
sleep?
as well interesting with not having clocks, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, you
Yeah.
could sort of
My philosophy that we've talked about, I think, was 9 after 9. Right. So
yeah
9 is no in German. So what that means is at 9 p.m. because I typically by 9 p.m. I want to be starting to wind down. So no after 9. So that means that I turn off my phone, or rather it goes into airplane mode. If I'm working, my laptop gets shut down. Possibly the Wi-Fi might go off. My clocks are all turned off. So I don't actually have any clocks in the house, but I've got a couple of little watches that I use, and I just turn those around. And I actually have like a tape on my phone, like a little bit of black tape, so I can't see the time at the top. Because I don't want to know the time, because then I start to get like stressed that, oh, I should have gone to bed, I'm going to get up in this time, etc. So I know from 9 o'clock that I should be going into my wind down routine anyway. Now that routine might take half an hour, it might take an hour, it might take 2 hours, it might take 3 hours, because maybe I'll watch something on TV or on the laptop. But again, I've got no clocks anywhere, so I can't see the time. Because then I feel less stressed when that happens. I don't know if you can hear beeping, but I think this is my neighbours. Their fire alarm's going off. Hopefully that will finish soon. So yeah, 9 after 9. So no clocks, no time, no contact with the outside world, no checking emails, no checking Facebook, none of that, because then that starts to wind you down. So you need to think about your wind down routine, much like you would think about a routine that you would give a baby or a child. When we are parents, and I'm not a parent myself, but for any parents out there, to get your child to sleep, you put the lights down low, you bathe them, you read them a story, etc. You don't, as a parent, allow a stranger into your house to tell your child about all the muggings and killings and death and destruction in the world. But when we're adults, we do exactly that. Now, we don't physically let someone in, but what we do is we go downstairs, we have the lights on, we crack open that glass of wine, we turn the news on, our Instagram feed, whatever it is, and we get all this stuff into our brain, which is our 5-year-old inner child, if you like, and then we try and go to sleep. My suggestion would be start that wind down routine, whether it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, whatever time it is for you, at least 30 minutes. But if you can do an hour, 2 hours, even better. But let's say an hour before bed. So you've got to go to bed at 11. You start your wind down routine at 10. Maybe you make sure you shut everything off at 10 o'clock. You have the lights down nice and low. Maybe you run a bath. Maybe you empty the dishwasher. Maybe you read a normal book. Maybe you talk to your other half. Maybe you prep your bag for the next day. Maybe you write in your journal. Maybe you do some meditation. There's so many things you can do, right? People have forgotten what to do without a tablet or a phone near them. But there are so many things you can do. So the best routine for me is, which I don't often do, but I love, is having a nice long soak in a magnesium bath. So if I do that, listen to some like classical music, and then I creep into bed, maybe meditate first, but have a routine. So some kind of wind down routine. That could be some relaxing breaths. It could be some meditation. It could be some light stretching. It could be a bath. It could be, if you're lucky enough to get someone to give you a massage, get a massage. There are so many things, but you need to put some sort of routine in for your bed, not just crawl into bed. It's not going to be as easy to sleep. Again, we haven't got much time, so I can't tell you too much, but I would say instill a routine that chills you out when you go to bed, and ideally make it 60 to 120 minutes.
Yeah, amazing, Harry. Yeah, just stuff in I find gratitude journal, doing it, writing down in a notepad, journaling, reading just while I'm in bed, these kind of things, which I guess I've always loved doing throughout my life, but you fall into watching the news, watching a movie, crawling into bed, waking up late. So I think it's important to have an evening as much as the morning. So I think there's the final question, Harry, the big question. How many hours sleep do you recommend getting? Also, what's a good time to go to bed, get up?
Okay. All right. Okay. So because we're speaking generalistic here to mass people, I'm going to give a general answer. right? Bear in mind, this is not applicable to necessarily everybody, but I would say in general, most people would need 7 to 9 hours. If you are someone like a high level athlete, you're going to probably need more sleep. Some professional athletes sleep up to 10, 12 hours per 24-hour cycle because they are destroying their body a lot and they need to sleep a lot to repair the body, right? The damage that you do in the gym, you don't build your muscles in the gym, you build your muscles in bed. Okay, you damage your muscles in the gym and then you build the muscles when you sleep. So the more damage you do to your body in terms of like exercising a lot, you probably need to sleep a bit more, right? There is a slight difference there because sometimes when people start exercising, they have more energy, they need a little bit less sleep. But if you're a high level athlete, you probably need more than 9 hours. But the average person, 7 to 9 hours. And if you're having sat there and you're thinking, well, no, I feel like I get by on 6 hours pretty good, that's probably not real and true. You're probably just so chronically used to that you're not used to what it feels like to actually sleep well.
And then the coffees in the morning and all of that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You have all that. So I haven't met anyone that really has convinced me that they are thriving on 6 hours. Now, you can thrive on 6 hours if you have optimized your sleep massively and you're getting like a great amount of deep sleep, a great amount of REM sleep and so on. But most people aren't like that and most people aren't tracking that and they don't know that. But if you're getting, 6 hours of sleep and you're getting 2 hours of deep sleep and 2 hours of REM sleep, you're probably okay. But most people, I would say 7 to 9 hours. So let's just say, if you're listening, the chances are it's 7 to 9 hours, right? For me, sweet spot is about 7.5 hours. Again, that's 5 90-minute cycles because we have a 90-minute cycle. So typically we want 5 cycles a night. So if your cycle is 85 minutes, then clearly you're going to maybe need 7 hours and not 7.5 hours, right? So you need 7 to 9 hours. And in terms of when, again, highly variable, highly generalistic answer here, but I would say, and everyone has different what's called chronotypes. So some people are early birds, late, so and so. But even those people that are late, we're not talking 1, 2 in the morning. I would say, for most people, it could be anywhere going to bed between sort of some people like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. The majority of the population would be to say between 10 and 11, 10 and 11:30. And then some maybe as late as 12. But if you're there going, oh, I'm a night owl and you go to bed at 2, that's just because you're doing things that are pushing that even further back. But if you were just to allow things and nature to take its course, I could almost guarantee that would probably come back to 12, even if you were a quote unquote night owl. So general rule of thumb, an hour before midnight is worth 2 hours after. And normally what I say is if you can get as many hours of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in as possible, all the better. So in my view, my experience, it's better to get 8 hours sleep from say 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. than it is say from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. Right? Still 8 hours, but the healing and everything else, unless maybe you've been sleeping like that for 20 years, but even then I'm dubious. I've got a friend like that actually. He used to go to bed at 4 and get up at 12, and we've slowly got that back to I think 2 till 10. Maybe it will go back even because there's an interference with the family and everything else when you sleep like that, and society in general. So yes, long answer, but in short, 7 to 9 hours. Try and get as many of our hours before midnight as possible. And that, for the general answer, for the general population, is going to be largely the right thing.
Amazing, Harry. I think that's a great place to end the interview in terms of all of this knowledge today. I've been making so many notes and all of this stuff is connecting with me, and I'm learning a lot, definitely in lockdown where there's, this is stuff that we can perfect and master, whereas like maybe we didn't have time when we're working all the time. We come back, we've got no time to sit down and breathe and drink water, and now we're like full inspection. So it's brilliant, and I can definitely see a lot of truth in that, and I'm noticing results so far. So yeah, Harry, I guess finally, just maybe just to quickly tell people about where you can help them. Obviously, you've got a book and like website and stuff. Is there any?
Yeah, the best thing, the simplest way maybe is to go to my website, harry.hk. So that's spelled HARI. So H for hotel, A for alpha, R for Romeo, I for India. And then .hk for Hong Kong, but for Hari Kallmnios. So if they go to harry.hk, there should be links to like my YouTube and social media. My social media, YouTube, everything online is The Thought Gym. So thought as in thinking. So The Thought Gym. So if you go to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, The Thought Gym is where you'll find lots of stuff. Thethoughtgym.com, you can access a free energy assessment. So that is going to tell you exactly, in fact, actually it might be useful for you as well, Chris, to do, but you go to thethoughtgym.com and it will give you a very, very detailed, comprehensive energy audit, which is going to tell you exactly what you need to do. You won't need to read another health once you do this questionnaire, because it is going to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to have more health and vitality and energy. So yeah, thethoughtgym.com. If people want to go there, they can fill in a free energy audit. It's not always going to be free, because I think I'm going to be charging for that, because it's quite detailed and comprehensive. So thethoughtgym.com, harry.hk, they're the best two places. And then you should be able to find links to my books, products. I've got a journal. I've got all sorts of things there that you can access.
Amazing, Harry. Like, great. I'll put links to all that below, and I recommend everyone checking our stuff out. Harry did a talk for me about 2 or 3 years ago, and a lot of this stuff has stuck with me, and it's helped me since. And yeah, he's just amazing in this area of nutrition and health and energy, and it's just so important to everyday life. So really grateful for this today, Harry. And yeah, man, I'll definitely have to connect with you soon.
Yeah, perfect. All right, I'll leave you to it, and look forward to seeing this up online sometime soon.
Cool, man. All right, we'll catch you later.
Take care.